Hi, my name is Brianna Johnson, and I am currently a student at Grand Canyon University. I am making this video today to talk about different strategies that I implemented in a special education inclusion class. The students I worked with had a range of disabilities from ADHD, high functioning autism, dyslexia, auditory processing disabilities, and other processing disabilities. Most of the students I worked with had a good foundation, and some just had a little bit of issues with solving addition and subtraction and word problems. The time I spent in the classroom observing and through conversations, I was able to watch the teachers and gather different strategies that I saw them implementing in the classroom and use them when I was able to work with the students. I did work with the students on a one-on-one basis, so I was able to really cater to that child's need at that time. So I did see great progress during my time with the students. For my ADHD and autism students, I was able to use graph paper and lined paper with them, and during their class lesson, I just had them write down on the lined and graphed paper the steps that they would take so that they would have a little bit more room for their work and help them just stay a little bit more organized. And I did notice that this helped quite a bit, but it didn't help as far as them pulling information out of the problems. So what I did with that is I read the questions to them multiple times while really emphasizing on certain phrases that they were at in that section of the word problem. And during that time, I would rephrase the question or try to ask it in a different way that would hint to them what information they needed to pull out from it. For my dyslexia and auditory processing and other processing students, I had a highlighter that we used while we were reading the word problem. We would highlight and circle, underline important information that the text was telling us, and then go through and use our vocabulary, and I would prompt and ask the children questions. Okay, is this asking us to add or is it asking us to subtract? And then, I would wait for them to answer. And then I would also refer to our vocabulary list. Okay, when a word problem says this, it's wanting us to add. So what are we going to do? We're going to add. And then we would write down over the word what part we're using. Are we doing an addition? Are we doing subtraction? So there was a lot of prompting involved with that. And before we did solve the problem, I would have them write down the sentence that was rephrasing the question. So for example, Ginger had blank more cookies than Danny. I found that writing this down really did help the students because they could refer back to this and be like, oh, okay, I'm trying to find this out, and it would just help that processing. When talking to the teachers, they all expressed how vocabulary was the most important aspect in math and how I really needed to emphasize on that and offer more support in the vocabulary when doing intervention time. So I did notice that referring back and constantly referencing the vocabulary, that over the span of time that I was working with them, they really just caught on. It was just that repetitive, and using that graphic organizer to help organize the problems that really worked. For my lined and graph paper students, it helped as far as keeping them organized. I did see a little improvement on that as far as staying on task, but the students did need reminders during the course of our lesson to stay on task. They still needed those little reminders. So one thing I would do in the next steps is to help them stay on task would be to like number, okay, number 1, step 2, step 3, and have a reference for them to look at so they could constantly be checking that to maybe help them stay on task a little better. Over the course of the week, the students that I did have one-on-one with showed great, like I said, they showed great improvement. They were able to gather information from the word problems, but still did make the minor mistakes on the addition and subtraction, but they were grasping the concept using the strategies implied. So that was a great success. In the future, I really wouldn't change anything except more time. It's just that repetitiveness that really was able to show the improvement. But I feel confident with the strategies that we used. The students could use the strategies at home, but one would require more student support than the other. So it does rely heavily on the parent or notes that are taken in class. The notes and examples can be taken home in the journals and used in class. During the time in the class I was in and observing what the teachers do for different kids inspired me to always get to know my students, because that's the only way that you could really implement what strategies will work for them. And a majority of the time, the same strategies are going to work for the same issues. And if not, it's okay to try something new. It's kind of hard to put into words how I will use these strategies. All I know is that it really takes a hands-on experience, and for this I'm grateful, because just being in the classroom is what has taught me what strategies to use for different children. And I'm glad I got to spend such a good amount of time in a diverse classroom. Thank you.